Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. My name is Peter Loshak. Today is Monday, September 11th, and of course, every Monday I do an upcoming preview, a preview of the upcoming MLB series and pitching assignments for the upcoming week. I try to do it on Thursday and Friday as well, but often run out of time. So not sure I'm going to be able to do one this Thursday or Friday, but definitely got one for Monday. Looking at the upcoming series in MLB. It's a weird, interesting time, as we all know, in MLB. I'm very careful about taking big favorites at this time because there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of the lineups and the bullpens and all that. On the other hand, there are some teams that, of course, are absolutely dominant and others that have thrown in the towel. And we have one of those series coming up this weekend, Detroit and Cleveland. Cleveland dominated Detroit recently in Detroit. Now they're going back to Cleveland. They should dominate again, but of course, now we're going to see, lines of 80 or 100 points higher as a favorite than Cleveland saw on the road in Detroit. And of course, we're seeing that already tonight with Carrasco close to 400, and the Corey Kluber game for Tuesday has already opened at minus 400, which doesn't necessarily mean Cleveland doesn't have value here. I'm not sure if they have value tonight, but tomorrow with Kluber starting, you might want to shoot me for saying this, but I think that Cleveland might actually have value even at minus 400 tomorrow against Detroit, because Kluber is so dominant and so reliable, start in and start out. It's very, very unlikely that he's going to give up anything more than 2 runs. And if that's the case, then it's very, very likely that Cleveland is going to be able to put up enough against Boyd to win. So we'll see. Of course, I do my live show every weekday morning at 10:30 Eastern time, and I'll have a complete breakdown of that game tomorrow morning, and we'll see if I wind up giving that as a pick. And tonight's game for the Cleveland-Detroit game, I didn't give Cleveland as a big favorite. I did, however, give the Detroit first 5 innings team total under at 1.5. So we'll see what that is tomorrow. But again, lots of interesting, crazy stuff in baseball right now, and of course, the craziest of them all, pretty much by far, is the Dodgers having lost 15 out of 16, most of those games as a huge favorite. At what point will that end? Not exactly sure, but this series at San Francisco, not sure if it's going to end here. I will get to that one in a second. But the first series that did catch my eye that might be interesting as far as value is concerned is Oakland at Boston. Oakland, of course, a team with a very stark home-road discrepancy. They've been great at home, one of the top teams in terms of ROI at home, and they saw recently their sweep of Houston, why that is. And now they go on the road, completely different case. Oakland is almost minus 30% ROI on the road in baseball, one of the worst road teams to have bet on all season long. That probably continues here, even though Oakland does have a nice lineup with some productive bats. Boston has been a small, profitable team at home, which we do see a lot. They get a lot of line respect at home, but a lot of times, when they have a quality bullpen, not quite as much as they should be getting. Oakland was double-digit profitable in September, but that mostly had to do with the sweep of Houston that we just saw, where they were a big underdog in all those games. That really boosted their September ROI. Boston has also been profitable over ROI. And so I'm thinking that Boston might actually be a good bet in this series, and also looking at unders on Tuesday. On overs. The Tuesday matchup is Mania against Erod, and Mania's off a good start, but he has been very vulnerable for a while now, and he figures to have a significantly worse start here. Erod has been not lights out, but off a decent start, and Oakland tends to be worse against lefties. So the line is very close to being accurate, in my opinion. Boston is, about a minus 170 favorite. Feels to me like that is where it should be. Still, maybe a little bit of value with Boston on the run line, and I might wind up taking that tomorrow. We'll see. And then on Wednesday, Jarrell Cotton against Pfister. Pfister's been great. Cotton has been very, very iffy recently. Been getting hit, start in and start out. Should be iffy at best here, and the Boston team total over might be a low-hanging fruit, no-brainer play on Wednesday. We'll see what that line is when it comes out, but probably not going to be too much higher than 230, 240-ish. And if it's in that area, probably Boston on the run line, and Boston at the very least on their team total over will probably be a good bet. Very good bet, I think, that Boston hits Cotton on Wednesday. What will we get from Pfister? Not exactly sure, but he's been great recently, of course. So I'm looking closely at betting on Boston on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, I'm seeing the matchup as Gossett and Pomerantz. Again, Oakland can be held down by quality lefties. Pomeranz has been a lot shakier recently than he was in the beginning of the year, but he's still been getting overall decent results. Again, I'd be looking to an over on this one. And Gossett has had some nice starts in the majors, but this figures to be a much more difficult assignment for him. So once again, I'll be looking at, Boston, the over, and Boston team total overs on Thursday. And all three of those games, that's the way I'm leaning. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Boston overs and the Boston team total overs. They have they should have a lineup edge and also a significant starting pitching edge in this one. Then another similar series where in the National League where the home team might have a significant edge is the Cincinnati at St. Louis matchup. Cincinnati, of course, has been a weak team overall on the road in terms of ROI. St. Louis has been strong in September. They've weathered a bunch of injuries and, in general, doing very well. And their starting pitching has also been getting it done. So the Cards, to my eye, appear to have a stronger lineup for this series, a pen edge as well, and probably starting pitching edges also. On Tuesday, the matchup is Stevenson against Lynn. Stevenson, of course, is a youngster with great stuff, gets a lot of strikeouts, but his control issues might hurt him here. So far in the majors, his control issues have been something that he's more or less been able to pitch around and get out of. But here on the road against a decent productive team like St. Louis, that might not be the case. And then Lynn on the other side for the Cardinals has been getting good results. Not great peripherals, though. So this is probably the St. Louis game that I'd be liking the least because Stevenson has such a big upside and Lynn, getting good results in terms of run prevention, but not great results in terms of peripherals. So Tuesday might be a little bit iffy as far as taking St. Louis. But then on Wednesday, it's looking like Molly against Martinez or Flaherty. And Molly could have a good start, but he's still raw and developing. This is going to be a tougher assignment for him. And then whoever starts for Flaherty starts for St. Louis. Expecting him to have a good game. And then on Thursday, a big starting pitching advantage for St. Louis. I'm seeing Garrett against Weaver. Now, Weaver might start on Wednesday, and Flaherty or Martinez might start on Thursday. Not exactly sure what the pitching assignments will be here for St. Louis, but any which way, I think they favor St. Louis. Amir Garrett, of course, is very shaky right now, and it looks like Cincinnati is just going to throw him to the wolves and keep throwing him out there every fifth or sixth day to get some major league experience. And he's going to be vulnerable against teams that can take advantage of that. So I'm looking at St. Louis in all games this series, especially Wednesday and Thursday. We'll see what those lines are. Then the only other series that I have to bring up here is the Dodgers series at San Francisco. As bad as the Dodgers have been, San Francisco has been the second worst home team overall in baseball. They're minus 14% ROI at home. So the Dodgers get an easy assignment here. They've also been a terrible bet in September so far, but the Dodgers, of course, are on an epically bad run in terms of ROI. The pitching matchups are questionable. On Tuesday, it's Kershaw against Cueto, and Kershaw, of course, had a bad start, his last start out. Now, this year, he's had a bunch of those, and he's bounced back strong every time, but he recently went on the DL with back issues, and as we know, back issues can linger. They can, even with someone like Clayton Kershaw. So what to expect from Kershaw here on Tuesday? A big question mark as far as I'm concerned. That big bounce back, 7-inning shutout start would not be a surprise, or another 3 or 4 inning start where he struggles would also not be a surprise. And then on the other side, Johnny Cueto has been okay since his return. So starting pitching matchup is looking okay for San Francisco, and again, a massive road favorite line for the Dodgers. If they had been winning and Kershaw was on top of his game, this would probably be closer to minus 400, but it's still minus 250, and that one's going to be San Francisco or nothing for me. And then on Wednesday, I don't have a confirmed starting pitching assignment for San Francisco, but it is supposed to be Yu Darvish for the Dodgers, and he's clearly been off recently, and it's probably going to be another huge road favorite line there on Wednesday for the Dodgers. So we'll see what the starting pitching assignment is for San Francisco. We'll see what happens on the Tuesday game, but once again, it's going to be San Francisco or nothing for me on Wednesday. It's an interesting series of what's happened, an interesting handicapping situation to analyze what exactly has happened with the Dodgers. But so as far as series are concerned, definitely looking for Boston to have some value against Oakland and maybe a lot more value with their team total overs. Definitely looking for St. Louis to have some value against Cincinnati, and particularly on Wednesday and Thursday. And then some individual pitching matchups that are kind of interesting. One is on Tuesday, starting with Tuesday, San Diego at Minnesota, Wood against Gibson. And Wood has been bad. Wood looks like one way or another he's going to get hit bad here. And Gibson has been weirdly better recently. Some games his peripherals are off. There are other games where he does get a decent amount of strikeouts, but he's definitely turned a bit of a corner and strung together a bunch of nice starts in a row. But Wood getting hit, I think, is probably going to be a good bet. Again, tune in tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning, where I will reveal which picks of the San Diego decide and reveal which picks on the San Diego Minnesota game I wind up giving on my official record. Right now, it is a high line. Minnesota is in the -170s, and Gibson, despite having done better recently, is still Gibson. So I might just stick with San Diego. With Minnesota team total overs in that one. But San Diego is another team similar to Oakland that has been great at home in terms of ROI and not great on the road. They haven't been nearly as bad as Oakland in terms of ROI on the road, but still negative and still a team that I look to fade on the road. And Minnesota, has a lot of good bats in the lineup, and Wood, again, is a guy who's like borderline auto fade for me right now. Probably going to be the case with that on Tuesday as well. Let's see. Then let's see. Also on Tuesday is Miami and Philly. This guy Peters. I'm not sure how I'm going to play it, but it's just a very interesting matchup. This guy Peters is a youngster from Miami who had great minor league numbers. But not sure he has the stuff to get strikeouts long term in the majors. His first start was great. His second start came back down to earth. This is going to be his third start. It is, though, going to be the second time that Philly is seeing him. His first great start was against Philadelphia, so presumably they might do a little bit better against him here, having already seen him once and being able to prepare for it a little bit more. On the other hand, the strengths that he showed against Philly in his first start might also he might also be able to execute here. On the road, it'll be a little bit different. So, Peters, hard to say what to expect from him. He has gotten strikeouts so far in his 2 major league starts so far, but in the minors, he didn't get that many strikeouts, and I think long term we would expect him to be just mediocre at best. Maybe not, though. We'll see how he develops and if he continues to get the strikeouts against major league hitters. Then moving on to Wednesday, a couple of games that are definitely interesting as far as the starting pitching assignments. The Yankees and Tampa Bay. That series, of course, is being played at Citi Field, not in Tampa Bay. And the matchup there is Garcia against Archer. And Garcia is coming off of long rest. Not sure if that'll help him at all, but he was struggling in a major way before before they gave him this extra rest. My guess is that probably Tampa Bay hits him. Garcia might have suddenly a better than expected start because of the rest. My sense is that Tampa Bay probably hits him. And then on the other side, Chris Archer. Not sure what the deal is with him. I actually accurately predicted that he was going to have a bad start last start because 2 starts ago he had some forearm issues and had an injury there, came out, and he did, in fact, come back in his next start and get hit hard. So vaguely, I'm looking at overs in this one. Both Archer and Garcia look shaky and iffy to me. And then maybe the Yankees on the second half might also have some value there. And then the Mets-Cubs game, another interesting one, another starting pitching matchup where there's 2 starting pitchers who look shaky and questionable to me, but because of their names we might see a low total in this one. It's the Mets and the Cubs. Harvey against Lester, and Harvey has definitely been, iffy and not so inspiring since he's returned from the DL. And Lester also has had injury issues recently, and his last start was a little bit better, but in general, I think that going forward, he is probably likely to struggle at least a bit, if not a lot. And so we'll see what the total is and what the weather is for the Wednesday game, Mets at the Cubs. But if I have any reason to like the over here, I'm probably going to jump on it because Harvey and Lester are both starting pitchers who I don't feel too confident about right now. And then on Thursday, just one starting pitching assignment that's caught my eye, and that is the Colorado-Arizona game. It's at Arizona. Bettis against Godley, and Bettis, of course, questionable major league stuff. He had testicular cancer. He came back and had 2 very nice starts in his return, which is nice to see. But since then, he's definitely been slumping and looks like more likely than not, he's going to slump again here against Arizona. Godley is a guy who has been pretty reliable, not always great. Definitely not lights out, but in general has been pretty reliable. Rarely gets hit too hard, and I'm thinking that Arizona might have some value in this one if the line isn't too high. I don't think that because of the starting pitching assignments, I don't think it'll be much higher than 160, 170, and if that's the case, then probably Arizona on the run line or -1 will have some value. And that's it. Those are my only thoughts so far for the upcoming series in MLB for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Again, give my official picks every morning at 10:30 Eastern time, so you can tune into that. I am up for the year in baseball and way up for the year in baseball since the All-Star break and since July 5th. So tune in for that show tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday, of course, 10:30 Eastern time right here at SBR Videos.